Throughout history, taxes have always played a powerful role in shaping societies. Governments rely on taxes to build roads, fund armies, maintain public services, and keep economies functioning. But taxes also have the power to create anger, resistance, and sometimes even rebellion. When people feel that taxes are unfair or imposed without their voice being heard, the result can be explosive. In American history, one of the most famous examples of this tension became a turning point that reshaped an entire nation. To understand how this revolt began, we need to travel back to the 18th century, when colonies were under the British Empire. Britain had just finished the 7 Years' War, although Britain won. The victory came with a massive financial cost and enormous debt. From London's perspective, the colonies had benefited from protection during the war, and therefore they should help pay the cost. But instead of negotiating, the British Parliament began imposing a series of taxes directly on paper, glass, tea, and everyday goods. The real issue was the principle behind it. The American colonists had no representatives in the British Parliament, yet were forced to pay. This led to a powerful and memorable argument that would echo through history. No taxation without representation. For the colonists, this was about political rights. They feared that if government could tax them without consent, it could control their lives. One of the most controversial was the Stamp Act, requiring taxes on official documents and even playing cards. The law sparked outrage. Protests erupted in cities, merchants organized boycotts, and political groups formed to resist what they saw as unjust taxation. The protests were not always peaceful. Crowds gathered, tax collectors were threatened, and British authority began to weaken. Although Britain eventually repealed some taxes, trust had been broken. The debate about taxes slowly evolved into a question about independence. One of the most famous moments came with the Tea Act. In response, protesters carried out a dramatic act that would become legendary. Disguised as Native Americans, they boarded British ships in Boston Harbor and threw large shipments of tea into the water. Britain responded with harsh measures. But instead of calming the situation, these actions pushed the colonies closer together. Colonists began organizing militias, preparing for conflict, and discussing the possibility of independence from British rule. What had started as a tax dispute had now transformed. The fight over taxation had become a fight over freedom and representation. Within a few years, the conflict would escalate into the Revolutionary War, ultimately leading to the birth of a new nation. Taxes are not just financial tools. They are deeply connected to ideas of fairness, representation, and trust. When those principles are violated, resistance can grow quickly and sometimes reshape entire political systems. What began as a dispute over a few taxes eventually sparked a revolution that transformed the political landscape of a continent. And it all started with a simple question: who has the right to tax the people, and under what conditions should that power be used?